So there was a really interesting article that Ryan Hall shared with me personally. He's a researcher and trainer. He's had his training studios for, I think, over 30 years down in New Orleans. He's brilliant exercise mind. And he sent me his recent article about the genetic component of building muscle size versus muscle strength. I'm going to link that paper in the description if you want to read it yourself. It's quite scientific. You might have to go over it a few times. If you have any questions about the paper, don't be afraid to shoot me an email or a message and I'll help clarify things for you. But I drew some interesting conclusions from this paper. So let's bring it up here. Now, before I get into this video, let me introduce you to my new invention called ROM blocks. Now, what the heck is this thing? Well, if you ever noticed, when you get into a hammer strength chest press or a shoulder press or even a biceps curl, you're starting in a really stretched position and it's uncomfortable, and generally you have to kind of like use momentum to put yourself in the correct position. Well, I created a way to avoid that so you can start in a safer, more appropriate position by attaching ROM blocks to the bumper on the hammer strength machines. Now, just by attaching one of these ROM blocks, you're going to improve the starting point. You're going to move the handles a little bit further so you're not starting in that stretch position. And you can stack them on top of each other if you want to change the starting position even more. It also helps when you're reaching failure. You don't want to reach failure and set the weight down in a stretch position. This is going to cause increased force on your connective tissue. You could probably tear a pec tendon or a pec muscle over time if you're not careful. It also helps with starting in a biceps exercise. It helps with, ending the hack squat or the leg press exercise too, because all the hammer strength equipment use this same bumper. It also helps with row machines. If you notice, some of the pull downs are so high up you can't really reach the handle, so you have to stand up, pull them down. Well, guess what? You can attach the ROM blocks to those too and make the handles able to be reached. All right. I'm doing a pre-order with these things now. Click the link in the description to get your first set. I'm going to start shipping these within a month or two. These will save your joints. They will improve your workout, and they'll make everything way more effective. Click the link in the description. Buy a set of the ROM blocks. Pre-order them now. So in this article, he explains the effect, the strong effect, a myokine, interleukin-15, has on individual response to strength training in terms of muscle strength and muscle size. He identified 3 genotypes of this interleukin-15 myokine: the CC genotype, the CA genotype, and the AA genotype. So the way this genotype expresses itself in an individual has a strong influence on whether or not the individual gains a lot of muscle mass, a lot of muscle strength versus muscle mass, or somewhere in between. So the CC genotype seemed to build the least amount of muscle size, but the most amount of muscle strength, compared to the AA genotype, which build the most amount of size with the least amount of strength. So what they found was there was this trend that the individuals who expressed the genotype to build the most mass didn't build the most strength. And then the individuals who possessed the genotype that built the most strength didn't build the most mass. They actually built the least amount of mass. So this led to an interesting conclusion. Skeletal muscle, and he says this in the article, skeletal muscle is a metabolically active tissue. It requires nutrients and energy to maintain. Adding less muscle mass per unit of strength gain would represent an increased efficiency and survival advantage. And this is why you see not so many people with very big bulging muscles, and why it's hard for a lot of people to put on huge amounts of muscle mass, 230, 40, 250 pounds of muscle while maintaining relatively lean body weight. Because it is evolutionarily disadvantageous to carry all that additional muscle when it comes to improving your muscle strength. And the conclusion at the bottom of the article is very interesting. This is what it says. It says, hypertrophy has been considered the ideal response to resistance training in cellular studies of muscle growth, But muscle quality has been examined recently to reflect a measure of mass to performance efficiency. If neurological and biochemical adaptations are not sufficient to respond to the overload stimulus, hypertrophy may be a compensating adaptation. What does that mean? That means when your body is trying to prove its muscle strength, and keep in mind, all your body wants to do is get stronger. Your body does not want to build muscle. It wants to be able to produce more muscle force. Your body is going to try to adapt neurologically and biochemically first and use the current muscle tissue it has more effectively and efficiently, and it is going to add muscle as more of a last resort. And this is why you don't see too many people with very, very large muscles, because evolutionarily it was disadvantageous to carry all that other extra metabolically active tissue when trying to improve your functional capacity or your muscle's ability to produce force. And this is kind of the opposite of what they expected. It says in the article, the researchers had originally hypothesized that the genotype with the largest increase in cross-sectional area, or the largest increase in size, would also have the largest gains in strength. However, it was not the case. There was a non-significant trend in the opposite direction. As I said, the individuals that had the largest amount of muscle size, the largest amount of muscle growth in response to resistance training, had the smallest increase in strength. The individuals who had the smallest increase in muscle size had the biggest increase in strength. So it just goes to show, that your body, it really doesn't want to build muscle. You almost have to put it in a position where you're forcing it to. And another point, you'll notice that when you first start strength training, you're going to get really strong really quickly. Within the first few weeks or the first couple of months, you're going to notice you skyrocket in strength. This is due to your body learning how to use its current muscle tissue more efficiently, because it doesn't want to add extra muscle tissue because it's metabolically expensive and it takes a long time to add. It's going to improve neurologically and biochemically first. Then you'll notice at a certain point, you kind of start to taper off. You're not getting as strong anymore. You're not doing more weight. You're not doing more reps. And then you think something's wrong. You think you've plateaued. This is not the case, however. You have pretty much maxed out the neurological and the biochemical adaptations that you can make to make your current muscle more efficient and stronger. That plateau is the exact time where your body is forced to start adding new tissue or growing muscle, because it no longer can make improvements in neurological or biochemical adaptations. So that plateau that most people interpret as something bad is actually something good. Most people want to switch up their entire workout when they start to reach a strength plateau because they think they need a different stimulus or their body is adapted to the workout, which they're correct. Their body has adapted neurologically and biochemically, but it has not adapted hypertrophically. So what you want to do when you hit a plateau is literally nothing, because now your body has to grow muscle tissue. You are continuing to apply the same stimulus to your body. It cannot adapt neurologically. It cannot adapt biochemically. Now it has to adapt hypertrophically, meaning more muscle tissue. This is something I concluded, several years ago. It made the most sense. So I get a lot of questions. People say, what do you do when you hit a plateau? What do I do if I haven't gotten stronger in the last couple of workouts? This is what you do. You do nothing, okay? Now, if you want help growing muscle, I can put about 5 to 10 pounds on you in about 4 weeks. Click the link in the description below and join my coaching program so I can teach you all these components to make sure you have the best approach to training, so that way you can get the best response from training. Just because, people don't grow huge amounts of muscle, 20, 30, 40 pounds of muscle in a year, doesn't mean most individuals can't put on 5 to 10 pounds very quickly by learning how to train hard. That's what my coaching is for. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell notification icon so you can be notified when I drop more information to teach you how to get the best physique you possibly can with the least amount of time spent in the gym. I'll see you next time.